Thanks for joining us, guys. Appreciate your time. Obviously, so far, most people's commentary around the final series is that it's United's playoffs to lose, but you guys have performed strongly against United this year. What did you learn from those clashes, and what gives you confidence heading into Friday night?
You want me to start?
Yeah, you go.
I'll answer that.
Yeah, it's the team's been able to perform pretty well. I think obviously the Melbourne rivalry, it's a game that you try and get up for, and now it's taken to new levels with finals upon us. So I think we match up pretty well. It just depends on the mindset that we enter the game with, being physical, being aggressive, and playing to our strengths. So it's going to be a tough game, but we're very confident in our abilities and our team to do something pretty special.
I guess, Simon, what areas do you think are your strengths that you can go to against United to make the most of that result?
Yeah, well, I think from a defensive standpoint, there's some areas that we have to make sure that we're on top of. Obviously, you have to know where Chris is at all times and stop him in the half court, catching and shooting, find him in transition. We've got to do a little bit better job than what we did last game with Jock. I thought maybe we switched a little too much with him, and he got a little bit of a hold of us. But most important about Melbourne, is keep them out of transition and keep them off the offensive boards, and then force them into that half court execution.
Ryan, I was chatting to Jock Landale yesterday, and he said that no fans, it could be a unique experience, but he said a lot of their best training sessions have been behind closed doors, and he said they treat it like a bloodbath. Is that similar for you guys? I know it's going to be a bit weird with no fans, but do you draw on positives like that as well?
Yeah, it's obviously different, and we would love to have fans, and obviously play in Melbourne, but circumstances are what they are. But every day at training, it's just us. We have to create the energy. There's no excuses for not talking on the court and from the bench, and having our communication on point, which is going to be very important for us defensively. With our game plan against them and coverages and rotations and things like that. So for us, it offers us, the challenge to be loud, create our own energy, and make sure that our communication is at a high level.
And from a personal note, Ryan, you must be pretty excited. First NBL sort of finals series. You probably got fond memories of watching on before this year.
Yeah, it's very exciting to come back and now be part of the finals and for Phoenix's first finals campaign in just its short history. So very lucky, and just ready for the game to begin. Watching the NBL growing up a little bit and getting to a few games. I don't know if I made it to any finals back then, but just watching the league grow and now being a part of it, it's pretty special.
Simon, I just wanted to ask about, as Ryan touched on, the club's first final series, even chatting to Tommy Greer recently, the vision for the club started on a bit of paper. You had Mitch Creek over in the NBA. You're trying to get him as your marquee man. Within the space of 2 years to be where you are, what's your thoughts on that and sort of the hard work that goes on behind the scenes to achieve that?
Well, I think it's an organisational success, not just a team success. I think of the work that Tommy's put in and Rowan Short and, from the get-go with those two, and then the people who have come through the place and some who have gone on, like Brooke Steindl and have gone on to other roles. We've got a really good front office. The work that they do to allow us to play has been sensational during really difficult circumstances, obviously with COVID. But it's exciting. It's something that perhaps I might reflect on at a later time. Right now, I don't really feel like patting the guys or ourselves on the back too much. It's sort of like we've still got a job at hand. So it might be something to reflect upon. We've always held ourselves to pretty high standards. And, from the get-go, when myself and Mitch, when Mitch was the only player, we kind of eyeballed each other and said, hey, we're not going to be one of those 5-year projects. We want to be competitive from the get-go. And we were hoping that would be last year. Obviously, we incurred a number of injuries that prevented us from really reaching our potential last year. But having that second year of free agency and being able to bring in some key players for us, like a Ruben Tarangi or a Cameron Glidden, and then later on with Rowdy as well. But to bring in those guys, and then some rookies like Mike Carina and Yanni Wetzel, it's just, you grow the list. One of the things I guess we were poor at last year was defensively. We just didn't have a lot of length on the wings, and we weren't able to stay in front of the ball enough. And we went and recruited with guys who could stay in front of the ball, and that's helped us a little bit. It helps us a lot in that area. So it's just a natural growth for us, but we're probably a year ahead of where a lot of pundits had us, but we haven't listened to people from the outside from the get-go. We've done it our way. And
I guess in that vein, you're sort of determined to sort of don't want to make up the numbers against United, because, as I said, like, everyone's prepared to talk them up, but you guys have proven that you can compete with them.
Yeah, I mean, those who talk anybody, it's irrelevant to us. We have a belief in this group. Obviously, Melbourne are an excellent team. They've got great depth. We've got really high-end blue-chip guys. But there's only one ball, and it can only be in one player's hands at a time. And we've just got to make sure that each individual on our team does a job, and that we're prepared as best we can in a very short preparation time to quell their influence. What pundits and the media say, I mean, they're not very knowledgeable at the best of times, so I don't really have to listen to them.
Fair enough. That's probably on the money with that as well.
Present journo is excluded from that comment. No,
it's all good. It's all good. Mate, I was going to ask about Mitch Creek. You must be impressed with just the way that it has been difficult for him, difficult year for him, but just the way that he's responded from that, and the way that he's led that team in probably not only on the court, but all just like as a leader as well, even though it wasn't necessarily officially part of that the two guys as a leadership group.
Yeah, obviously, whilst his legal issues were going on, he was stood down from his leadership positions in an official manner. And that allowed him to focus on himself as well as, doing the right thing by everyone. But it was also a great opportunity for others to step in and fill that breach. Kyle Adam stepped into the captaincy role at the start of the year, but now he had to take on a greater role within that. Gibbo, always a great leader. Rowdy joining the team's a vocal guy, despite his nickname, but he's always got great insight to add in. And you can see some of the younger guys starting to contribute a little bit more in that area as well. And then to obviously getting back into the team, he's a natural leader, so it's not going to be like he can just sit in the background and do his thing. It's just not who he is. He's always going to be, he's a big personality. He's going to come to the forefront, and he's got a lot to say and in a good way. And so he's slotted back in. Whether or not he's got a tag that next to his name of captain is irrelevant. His leadership qualities shine through at all times.
Thanks, mate.
Jason or Justin, feel free.
Yeah, I'll jump in. That's all right. Thanks for joining us, guys. Ryan, I just wanted to ask you about the underdog status as a play group. Is that something that you guys embrace?
I don't know. It's sort of tough. I've never really considered us real underdogs. I think we have a belief in our team and our system and the game plan that the coaches put together, that we feel confident going into every game. Whether they're odds-on favorites or underdogs, we don't really pay too much attention to it. It's very much internal and a quiet confidence that we have the pieces and have the team and everything to go out and get a job done. And we've been able to beat Melbourne and Perth throughout the season, and Illawarra. So it just comes down to each game taking it as seriously as possible, preparing the best we can, making sure physically we're up for the fight and going out and executing what's been put together.
And how much confidence did you guys gain from that recent win over Melbourne United?
Yeah, it's obviously always good to see all that effort and game plan and how it works and how effective it can be if we play it the right way and we execute as we should. So yeah, finals obviously it just brings the intensity up and it brings the physicality up, and we just need to be able to match that and exceed them and make sure we're on the front foot from the get-go. And finals games, anything can happen, so we just need to get off to a good start.
And Simon, just from your perspective, how do you, in terms of what you've seen from the players, how do you view them in high pressure situations? What have you noticed about them in those sort of situations?
It's a funny one. It's an area that I feel like we can continue to get better at, and it's an area that we continue to work on. And we've shown at times during the year that we can be quite good at it, and then we've shown at other times that it can be faulty. For us, it's about the processes and making sure that we're able to communicate and execute in important moments. And I feel like that's an area that we're still working towards. Obviously, now that the finals are here, it's the regular season is a dress rehearsal for that. So we've got to be in place to do it now. And I feel like with this group, we spent probably the little training sessions that we've had together for the last week and a bit. For the most part, it's been just some walkthroughs and some light shooting. But when we have done a tiny little bit of scrimmage, it's been mostly working on those areas of the game.
Cool. Thanks, guys, and good luck.
Thanks,
Cheers.
Justin.
Anything from you, Jason?
Yeah, I was just going to ask Simon, there's been a group of you and the players that have been there since the foundation of the club, guys like Adam Gibson, Kyle Abner, Mitch Creek. Have you had a chance to reflect with that group and just, I guess, reflect on that achievement that you've sort of collectively as a bunch, gone from the start of the club's foundation to its first final series?
Not so much as a small group there. I guess after the Brisbane loss, I probably wasn't in the mood for it, but we did a little presentation to all the players and staff in regards to the achievement of making finals. I was probably in my own head licking my wounds a little bit from the Brisbane game, but it was nice to, it snapped me out of where my head space was at, and it was a nice short moment to celebrate each other's success on the season. But it was a very short moment, and from then it's move on to the next challenge, which is Melbourne United. I guess for the last month, whilst we weren't secure in a playoff position, we were confident of making the playoffs. But now it's been sort of like, okay, we need to hang on and find out where we're going to fit, who we're going to play. And so everything's, mindsets really have shifted quite quickly from being a little bit sour on the loss to Brisbane to celebrating our season to moving on to the next opponent and just being professional. So, I think the headspace for most of the guys is probably in that same area. We're just looking forward to the challenge of playing in the semi-final series.